I would like to talk a little bit about what I did a few days ago. As you guys know, I am hardly one to talk myself up, but I have been expanding my resume. As you know, I am now an actress. I have appeared in a short film called With Love, Megan. That's Megan with a Y. And a new trailer has dropped from your friend and mine, Megan Kelly, in which you know what, I can't spoil anything. This is really Megan's story to tell, but I want to address one Gayle King directly. Gayle, you are out banging the drum in front of any media outlet that will have you about what an inspiration you are now that you have been to outer space, and how nobody can relate to you now that you've been to outer space, and how nobody is allowed to talk to you anymore unless you've been to outer space. Gayle, to you I say, I too have now added astronaut to my resume. You may feel free to call me directly if you're feeling lonely, or DM me if you want to talk about the rigors of becoming such a legend in your own time. And I also would just like to say that in my roughly 30 minutes of intense training to take this little joyride, I learned a very interesting fact that I had not known before, that there are only 600 and maybe 63 astronauts in the scope of human history, and 23,000 people out of a planet of 7 billion have taken a joyride to achieve weightlessness. So Gayle, let me put it in parlance you might understand. I see you. I acknowledge you. I celebrate your greatness and I stand in your truth. Truly, I salute you. You have it all coming, every single bit. And by the way, I couldn't be happier to hear that your morning show, which is terrible, has been tanking in the ratings and has shed about 1.9 million viewers since you've been bragging about this disgusting, obscene, vulgar trip into outer space. Love you. Now, let's talk a little bit about the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which happened this weekend, an event that I have been to now 3 times, or maybe 2.5, and I will explain. So what you see and what is sold to you on, the showbiz gossip shows like The Extras, the Access Hollywoods, or like on CNN or whatever news channel of your choice, they will depict this as one of the most exclusive, glamorous, elite events of the year. Trust me when I tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. So I'm going to give you a little recap with some personal anecdotes and gossip. My first year was in 2023. That was the year fellow reality TV show lovers will understand this. It was the year of Scandival. It was the year that Vanderpump Rules broke through that little genre bubble it was in, the Bravo-verse as it's called, and straight into America's collective vein. It was just jacked into our veins constantly. So our guests that year were Lisa Vanderpump, the sort of doyenne of the show, and Ariana Madix, who was depicted, and if you do a rewatch, you'll see that I'm right, wrongly depicted as the wronged woman who had just suffered humiliation after humiliation. So those two were guests of the Daily Mail, where I column twice a week. They were our guests at our table. And these tables cost, again, it's like an obscene amount of money. It's like $25,000 or $35,000 to buy a table. So these are coveted seats. And if you get invited, the deal is you come to play. Now, next to our table sat the family of Evan Gershkovich. And if you recall, Evan was the young, I think he was 28 years old, Wall Street Journal reporter. He was in Russia, covering Russia for the Journal. He was abducted by Putin's secret intelligence agency, thrown into a Russian prison. He was fated to spend the rest of his life there, okay? Joe Biden's president, he's there. Colin Jost is hosting. His wife, Scarlett Johansson, is there. Kerry Russell from The Diplomat is there. Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, is there. It's a very starry evening. Trust me when I tell you that Evan Gershkovich's family, which should have been the sole focus of this night, nobody gave a shit. The only people anybody wanted to see was Lisa Vanderpump and Ariana, and LVP won by a mile, by the way. So she's sitting next to me or a seat away. Before the event even begins, there is a line on either side of this woman's shoulders, deep, deep, deep to the back of the room. This room is the size of like a football field. And all Lisa did the entire time, and I loved her for it. She was a great guest, very entertaining. She would put her hair like this and move her head to the left and selfie. Then she would silently move her head to the right like this. Selfie, selfie, selfie. It went on. When it was over, she said to me, that took a lot of energy. And you know what? I'm sure it did. Ariana Maddox, on the other hand. So LVP and Ariana did not speak to each other at all. And I found that interesting. And Ariana, this was her the whole night on her phone, texting, Instagramming, on her phone, hardly engaging with us at all. I think I asked her, so she and LVP had gone on a private tour of the White House that afternoon. And I said, oh, how was it? And it was like, the light goes on and she's like doing a confessional for reality TV. She's like, amazing. That, my friends, was the entire answer. You got a private tour of the White House. You saw the Lincoln bedroom. You saw things the average American on a tour doesn't see. Amazing. Okay. Initially, I thought she was on her phone because maybe she felt outclassed and unmatched in this room full of very serious people who do a very serious thing for a living. And I'm using quotation marks because I'm winking at you. But then I realized later, no, she thought she was just too good to talk to the rest of us. So she was a total asshole. So flash forward to last year, our guests at our table, I guess an attempt to sort of maybe replicate that buzz of the LVP era, Jax Taylor and Brittany Cartwright, whose marriage we are now seeing unraveling on the new season of The Valley. It's incredibly dark. Now, Jax Taylor was, again, one of my shame crushes, season 1 of Vanderpump Rules. Very good looking guy, very charismatic, but he is a guy who is a womanizer. He just admitted to a 20-year coke problem. The Valley is, inching up to alleging that he possibly has abused Brittany. These two show up. They're already separated, but they show up. After the event, we're all at like the hotel bar drinking. Jax comes over to me and one of the other Daily Mail women, starts talking. And I'm like, okay, let's see. Let's see what's going on upstairs. I should have said to myself, Maureen, this is really a rhetorical question. He's expressing the just utter wonderment that we can turn around news stories quickly. I mean, this is the job. We turn around news stories quickly, like any media outlet worth its salt. And I say to him, well, what you do also requires very quick turnaround and responses to things. And he says, well, what do you mean? We shoot our show and our show already shot and it's in the can. And I said, no, what I mean is as the show airs in real time, you get tons of viewer feedback immediately on Reddit, on viewer threads, on podcasts, on all of these things. And then you guys reply in real time, either on social media or, it's a whole ecosystem. Now, when I said the word ecosystem, I literally said to myself in my head, Maureen, this guy does not know what the word ecosystem means. Abort, abort, abort. And I slowly turned my chair around as somebody else approached and began talking to him and exited that conversation. This year, President Trump was not in attendance. There were no real stars there. It's kind of over. It's kind of over. If you listen to Megyn Kelly's show on Monday, she was recounting to her of what it was like, which is basically you're introduced to somebody who is semi-important and the introduction is meant to be like, hey, you guys should know each other. It might be helpful down the line. The entire experience of talking to anybody at an event like this, most people, not all, but I'm gonna say 99% of them, you're trying to talk to them as a human being would, and they are looking around anywhere but you, because there's got to be somebody more important in this room who they can certainly give their attention to, right? I mean, this happened to me twice, and the second time it happened to me, I literally said to myself, fuck this, I'm out of here, and I left. So I'm going to name a name because he's kind of a sort of a new star in the media world. One Scott Jennings, who over on CNN is sort of like, the media, the left-leaning media will, take him to the woodshed because he's a conservative offering his thoughts on CNN, and the conservative media, he's kind of like a new object of obsession and love because he takes all those hits so hard, but he keeps coming back and he's putting people in their place. Okay, I get introduced to this guy. Fine, perfectly. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. I run into him again about 10 minutes later, and I say to him, Scott, and I'm standing right there. Completely blanks me because what does he need me for? Apparently nothing. He's a big hotshot at CNN. His life is on fire. Why speak to the likes of me? That is what this thing is like. And I want to use this as a moment to transition into all of the bullshit that we're constantly fed about people who are rich, famous, powerful, having a moment